Peter Schrager now joining us, Fox Sports NFL reporter. So, okay, I want to talk about this. You know Steve Keim real well. You know Arizona very well. So let's take us to the Kyler Murray kind of game-winning drive, game-winning pass to D-Hop.
All right, so I spoke with Cliff Kingsbury last night. This is probably about an hour after the game. I said, take me through it because that couldn't have been the design. Kyler, go roll left and throw a 60-yard heave to 4 people. And he said, no, actually, the play call is called Cowboy. Why is it called Cowboy? Because this is based on what Aaron Rodgers did in the playoff game against the Cowboys 3 years ago. If you remember, Rodgers threw a pass to Jared Cook along the sideline to set up the game-winning Mason Crosby field goal. We actually have the footage here. This was the intention for the play. It was supposed to be Kyler about 30 yards along the sideline to Andy Isabella, number 17, who is a drag route, who's coming streaking across to go out of bounds, leave about 5 seconds left, and then get another shot at the end zone. But Cliff told Kyler in the play before, he said, unless you feel confident in Hop, that's the play. Now look here. Here's Kyler. Isabella's about 30 yards downfield. The play is for Isabella to catch the ball and then set up the final drive, the Cowboy play. But he said, if you see Hop and you feel confident, let her rip. Now, there's 3 guys there. I don't know if it's Hop wide open or what. Kyler would say there was never a doubt in his mind. He was going for it all here. He was throwing it to Hopkins. And I'll tell you what, DeAndre Hopkins goes up there. That's 3 guys, 3 really good defenders right there. That's Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, and Jordan Poyer, who are 3 of the best defensive backs in football. And that catch, Colin, there might be 5 people in the world who can throw this pass, and there might be 1 player in all of football who can make the catch. And It just so happens they did it with 1 second left. The coolest game of the week, and it's a huge one. They're now in first place in the NFC West.
So the Rams are a team that everybody jumped on board a couple of years ago, and then I kind of jumped off last year early. I said they have a lot of good players, but there's a lot of missing pieces. They look thin to me. And now I watch them, and it's the deepest wide receiver tight end core in the league. I mean, you got nothing but players. The defense is literally been transformed. They're 6-3. What is the story behind that defensive resurgence and the overall Rams play?
Look, they call him Coach Wade in Los Angeles, and it's Wade Phillips, and he was beloved. But it was time to make a change. They brought in Brandon Staley, who was with Vic Fangio the past several years, both in Chicago and in Denver. And what their defense is doing is maybe the most underreported story in the NFL. In 9 games, all right, in 9 games, 8 of those 9 games they've played, they've given up a field goal or less in the second half.
Yeah.
They're just suffocating. Yesterday, DK Metcalf did not have a target until the third quarter. He ended up finishing with 2 catches for 28 yards. Jalen Ramsey absolutely erased him. And then Leonard Floyd, who was a castaway off of the Chicago Bears, and they said, we've got enough guys, had 3 sacks and a forced fumble yesterday. The Rams defense is the identity of this team, not the McVay offense. Something about McVay, Colin, 31 games he has led in halftime in the regular season, 31 games in his career. They're 31-0 when they lead at halftime under McVay. That's how good they are once they get that lead. If they just get going early, and you mentioned it, they got the playmakers. The offense hasn't even gotten going. Goff hasn't even been great yet. They're sputtering on offense, and yet this defense is what leads them. It's really different than most teams in the NFL.
Yeah, and by the way, the Jalen Ramsey deal, you saw its value yesterday. They just took DK Metcalf out of the game. So Joy and I talked about this last year. The Dolphins got rolled by like 50 against Baltimore in week 1.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, Brian Flores, this is going to be another Belichick guy. And then it was about week 7 or 8. They were still bad. But I remember going on the air and being like, that's a really well-coached, lousy team. And now I watch them, and I'm like, I could make an argument they're in the contention for the 4th best NFL team. I saw them beat Arizona. I saw them hammer the Rams. And they're not the team that lost to Seattle because Tua is better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. What do you make of this really quick rebuild in Miami?
I mean, can you put Flores in Coach of the Year conversation?
Yes.
I was one of them who said, don't take out Fitzpatrick. I know Coach Dave Wannstedt was as well. He said, don't just put Tua in for the sake of putting Tua in. They're a much better team with Tua. Let's just be honest. And they're also more exciting. But there's other parts to this. Like yesterday, their running back who had 85 yards and a touchdown is an undrafted running back named Salvon Ahmed, who no one had ever heard of until 2 weeks ago when he got a couple touches, and yesterday shows up and plays huge. Their receivers were Mac Hollins, right, and like Jakeem Grant. They're all buying in on team first, and that is a Brian Flores quality that he wanted all along. So when they lost that game to Baltimore last year, everyone said they're terrible. When they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick for draft picks, everyone said that's ridiculous. Minkah Fitzpatrick's great on the Steelers, and that's what the Steelers needed. But what the Dolphins needed, they needed position players all around, and they're getting contributions from everyone. They had a really good free agent class, a really good draft class, and they've got a really good head coach. And oh, by the way, this quarterback might end up being the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah. Hey, I got and you would know this, Schrager, more than anybody, but we were talking about this earlier. Who would have thought that Jameis Winston may control the NFC South? Not Matt Ryan, not Breeze, not Brady. So Breeze is out, and they face Atlanta twice in the next 3 weeks, and Atlanta now is playing really good football. And the question is, Jameis has talent, but if Atlanta knocks off the Saints twice, then Brady is probably back in first. And the difference between a wild card and first place in the NFC, because we know the Super Bowl's in Tampa, but you're not going to win back-to-back playoff road games in the NFC. I don't care who it is. You're just not going to do it. So what is the update on? Are they going to play Jameis, Taysom, Breeze's health? Can you give us an update?
Yeah, and I'd also actually add one more layer to your conversation with some nuance here. With the new playoff format, the 1 seed is the only team that gets a bye. So that's even much of an incentive. And right now, the NFC is wide open. It's not like the AFC where there's an undefeated team. So these games matter. Here's the deal. Jameis signed with New Orleans before really exploring a bunch of other offers because he wanted what he told people, quote unquote, a graduate degree in quarterback. He wanted an MBA, and he thought he could learn that from Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Nothing against Bruce Arians and what he's had in the past or some of the other offensive coaches, but he felt that if he went and just absorbed Brees and Peyton for a year, then next year he can sign another deal and be a franchise quarterback. I don't even think Jameis expected this year to be the year, but he will be the quarterback. They love getting Taysom in there. It's going to be Jameis's team for the foreseeable future. I can't give you a timetable on Brees. He's incredible, but I wouldn't be shocked with the ribs injury and him taking himself out in the shoulder the week before that we do see Jameis for the time being. And this is going to be an audition, not only for what he can do with the Saints, but what he can do for the rest of the league and see if he can be a franchise quarterback again. Yeah,
no, Schrager, because I actually said there wasn't much of a market for Cam because of injuries. Like, I do think Jameis, I'd give him another run. If I was the Saints, I'd give him a run for a year. I think he could he's highly productive and he's never had injuries. Finally, one of the things about Brady and Arians, Brady, had this efficient, detail-oriented offense in New England. And then he goes to Arians, who's, no risk it, no biscuit. So it was a little bit of a cultural oddity. We didn't know it would fix. And then you bring AB in, and I felt they were forcing the ball to AB in the first week. They were trying, low percentage. And it was funny because yesterday it looked like they went back to a little New England, Tom, which is establish the run, higher percentage. Do you think there was, in that Saints game, a little pushback, Arians and Brady, that Bruce wanted bigger, Tom is not comfortable? Because I thought yesterday's game plan looked like Tom Brady put his foot down and said, hey, listen, man, we've got to have a running game here. I'm not 27 years old.
Yeah, I think the first time that Antonio Brown was on the field for them, the game got out of control so quick. It was 21-0. So then maybe there was some forcing to the receivers. What I thought was interesting yesterday was the pass disparity that they all got catches. I think Evans had 7, Godwin had 6, and Antonio Brown had 6. But Colin, I'll tell you, I spoke with my Tampa guys yesterday after the win. They were on that tarmac for 7 hours. They were in an airport. They had to change planes, all those things. Apparently, Leftwich and Brady were sitting on a bench at the airport just going over the playbook at like 10 o'clock at night the night before. And they were dialed in. Even if they weren't in their hotel room till midnight, Brady had this thing down. He wasn't going to let them lay an egg 2 weeks in a row. I'm very curious how this works out. Antonio Brown looked really good yesterday. Yeah,
he really did. He looked, and by the way, he wasn't that highly emotional. He was restrained. He went out. He made catches, ball down, back to the huddle. I thought AB was under control, but still really dangerous. Peter Schrager, Fox Sports NFL, also does your show. Give it a plug on the NFL Network. It is
Good Morning Football, but I'm more interested in USA Soccer. Let's go, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Good seeing you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.